All right, we are back like we never left. Another episode of the Small Cap Review for you today. Just a couple names I want to talk about: SOBR and MLGO. MLGO was obviously the star of the show today, but I'm going to start with what I traded, which is SOBR. So right away, let's just go ahead and jump into it. As I went through the gappers list this morning, there really was not a ton of names that were super interesting. Um, you know, some either, a little bit higher price, which is not always a bad thing. They were still kind of in that mid price range in terms of small caps. Um, a lot of them just did not have a good pre-market structure or a good daily or a backside bounce like this one, or, there's reasons for a bunch of this, but really the list was pretty slim in terms of what I was actually interested in. By the time opening bell came around, it was more or less WIMI, SOBR, and then to a lesser extent MLGO. And the only reason that was to a lesser extent was how big of a gap it had with 200, 25% or something like that. So, kind of through a process of elimination, I ended with SOBR. And, you know, what got me interested right away was, the volume. So I really liked the volume that we got at the open. And you could look at these 2 days a couple different ways in terms of building your thesis for what today will do. You can either think of this as a kind of backside bounce situation, likely to reject. We have, kind of lower highs, a lower high at least on this day compared to the prior. Or you can say, oh, this is a stock that wants to test up in this 65-cent range at least. But for me, the fact that we had really nice volume off the open, where immediately you could see that this day was going to have better volume than either of these prior days, that made me think we're going to get up over this prior day high, maybe even over this 80-cent level. Of course, that did not end up happening, but that's kind of where my mind was at the open. So as always, with a name like this where it doesn't have this clear range below, really the only play for me is a move above the pre-market highs and then a retest of the zone for a move higher. So that was the play that I was looking for, and that is what we ultimately got. Again, like yesterday, not bragging, but just putting the buys and sells on the screen, just to let you know that I am not making this stuff up. So the first fill that I got actually kind of sucked. It made this candle, it pulled back, and I tried to get it down here around 50 cents, and I was taking half size, but I ended up getting filled closer to like 50. Let's just see, call it what it is. Yeah, like 53.50. So that fill sucked. It was up here really at the daily pivot, which is absolutely not where I want to enter trades at pivots. That those are targets, not entries, especially when coming up. So I was a little disappointed with that, but when we did get this dip down into this daily zone or pre-market zone rather, I did go ahead and take some more, the rest of my size. Was able to get it under 50 cents, so I ended up, having a nice average here, around 50, 52 cents. So had a decent average, and um, the way that I played it was I took a little bit off when it tested these pre-market highs, I believe. Yeah, 944 were the first sells that I had. So yeah, up here at the intraday high, rather, not, I think I said pre-market highs, up here at the intraday highs. And, but I only took off maybe less than a third of my shares, maybe 20% of my shares, because I did want that move higher to at least the 65 level on the daily. Like I said, I wanted to, with the volume that it had, I thought it could at least take out this prior day high. So I wanted to hold for that move, and as long as it stayed over pre-market highs, as long as EMA stayed positive, as long as it was above VWAP, I was interested in the name. So I ended up getting kind of faked out, in this area too. I just didn't like, it was really a clearly painted downtrend here, and the price action was kind of stalling here. So I did take a little bit more of my position off here, but you do end up getting a really nice trend line break and a clean move to the upside, straight up to the 65-cent pivot. And this name was kind of weird with some of the price action. I mean, it would be going strong and then it would just randomly fill maybe a couple orders like all the way up here and then, price back down to where it was in the candle. So it kind of these wicks up where it looks like it, comes up and touches these levels, but there was no way to reactively trade off of it. So it was kind of sketchy in that sense. And, the same thing happened here at the top of the move where, maybe it was pushing around 70 cents and then, you know, flash to 74 and then back down to 70. So it was kind of tricky, but I ended up taking most of, if not all of my other shares off up here, and maybe even left a runner actually. But yeah, majority of the shares that I had left went ahead and took them off up in this area after this big extension, high a day volume on it with the upper wick. And again, I was just kind of sketched out by some of the price action that I was seeing on the screen. So, ended was a really nice move for me. Like I said, we had like a 52-cent average, um, you know, and up to 70 cents is like 40% move. So, really nice move. Happy to capture that. The only thing that can make you feel bad about it is if you're comparing it to a move like MLGO. So, sorry, there's a bunch of lines, but there were a ton of pivots on the chart that I already had mapped out. MLGO, if you've been trading small caps for a while, it is a name that you certainly know, or at the very least should ring a bell. If you go on the daily chart, you have some crazy days where you just get these massive, 100% plus running days off of these gaps. So you know that, this name is good for a gap and spike personality. You have another one here. It's really only this most recent day on the daily that it gapped, where it failed. Most other times it gives you you know, gives you a good spike and kind of a crazy run. So just knowing the personality helps in this name. As I look at if you just like kind of look at the pre-market, not the whole pre-market structure, but where this opens relative to pre-market highs and the behavior at open, it is easy to kind of compare and contrast it to BPTH yesterday. A big difference for me was this opening candle was not so aggressive to the upside. BPTH yesterday was, a straight up candle right to the closest, excuse me, right to the closest daily level and rejected it. And, through that, it took out the pre-market highs. And so it was a little bit more extended. Here, we don't get the pre-market highs taken out, even though we do get a move to the upside that rejects, but it's a little bit more of a balanced candle. And then also the fact that we have a daily level right below that it's able to bounce off of. And I got this level down here off of the 456 level. And it's just that down pivot and then this zone that just takes it from the bottom of the pivot up to the start of the real body. And you honestly could have drawn it up to encapsulate this wick in the top of this candle too. A little bit of art in the in the science of how you draw your daily zones, but I'll leave it as it is because this is how I had it drawn. So another interesting thing here before we get into the move itself is the pre-market structure. So obviously we have this. Let's just only focus on this pre-market. You have the straight up move on some pretty nice volume here, consolidation, and then you actually get a nice little sub VWAP trap where we're down below VWAP. If you're playing and shorting pre-market, you're feeling good about this move, but then it ends up reclaiming VWAP and pushing up into the open on some elevated volume here. So kind of with all those things combined, it differentiates itself from BPTH yesterday as a leading gapper. So even with that said, you know, when it's the leading gapper, when it's over 100%, it's just not as likely to make a push and a big move. Of course, we get it here, so nothing is 100%, but for that reason, I was more interested in SOBR. But obviously, we get a really, really nice move here. And so like I said, the way that I would have played it is, of course, just looking for this dip to this daily level that you get at the open. Kind of have to wait to see it to believe it when it's so extended like this. But when you start getting that volume ramp coming off of this, I would have ideally like to join this candle. Go ahead, just set the stop at the lows or just below the daily pivot or VWAP, depending on exactly where you want to put it. And then, at that point, it's impossible to not make money on this name. So get a nice halt up on the resumption, retest the halt level. Go ahead and stay strong on it and push up. And we have a clear area, from high sixes to mid sevens with a bunch of pivots here. So look at this on the daily chart. You know, here's a multi-touch pivot here, multi-touch pivot here, clear daily pivot here, and honestly, could draw another one here at 650, which probably would have, pretty much had this candle encapsulated in it too. So ton of pivots. Like I said, this is kind of a crazy name, and with crazy names, you get a bunch of pivots sometimes. So you come up in this zone, and it's only natural for it to have some consolidation in between these levels when there are so many pivots on the daily. This is kind of the make or break zone to see if you're going to get continuation. If you look at it on the 5-minute chart, get a pretty nice looking 5-minute flag here where you get this diminishing volume, stair stepping down on the 5-minute chart, test the 5-minute 8 for the first time, and it is rocking and rolling from there. You do kind of get this trickier candle here, but once you see this, kind of break these lows and then get absorbed, you're feeling good about that. And kind of same thing here. You get this more strong of a knife candle, but what's important to see is how the stock reacts to it. And in this case, it goes ahead and absorbs it. No more downward pressure. So, if any final short short chasing this candle, it gets absorbed and forces the rotation to the upside. So another really, really strong move. When it does make these legs up, it's ruthless. You get a halt up into this name, or I'm sorry, into this prior VWAP level, which is these red levels on my daily chart are just the VWAP from these massive volume days. Like if you take out today on the chart, elevated volume here, elevated volume here, and so we get the VWAP days drawn out. So get the halt up over this level, and at this point it's so extended you really can't expect, it would be kind of crazy if it just, bounced off the 8 and won again, or even bounced off the 21 and won again. It needs a deeper pullback, and it goes back to these prior daily pivots that we have drawn out. So you get that again, another flag, and just a rip up into a halt. So all this sounds familiar. One halt, two halt, third halt, we're getting less likely for continuation, and that's what we get here. 1460 is a super obvious level on the daily chart. You have this right here, and we're starting to get into lower high position from this, huge spike day that it had this last time it really ran. So those things combined make this a good area to kind of look for the top. I'm not shorting names that are just assholes, for lack of a better term, just these uh, crazy names. So you get the fake breakout, the push, the stuff, pretty much 1460 exactly. So a really nice, kind of short trigger look on this name, and just a straight dump down to VWAP. And when you have so much volume traded, 180 million, and 180 million shares on a name that's trading, at $10 is obviously way, way, way different than 180 million shares of a penny name like SOBR. What that trade today? Yeah, this traded, whoops, 260 million, but it's at 50 cents. You know what I mean? So dollar volume is something to keep in mind for these names. So this was pushing real volume, real volume. So, with that, it's not going to be, tops in and it, fades all the way back to where it came from. It's going to be a lot harder to do that. And in fact, makes it more likely for some type of move tomorrow or the following day. So this is definitely one to keep on radar. Watching it. Of course, I'm not going to be trading after hours, but how it behaves after hours, how it behaves in the pre-market the following day, and maybe we can get a day 2 or a day 3 setup on here. So that's really all I wanted to go over. Like I said, there was other gappers that were not as interesting to me. There were some day 2 plays that I had my eyes still on. BPTH from yesterday was one that just, again, maybe tomorrow for day 3 we can get something out of it. But this level up here is going to be the key. What else do we have? AFMD was one that I was aware of. Again, if these levels hold around the 740s, maybe we can build and take out the 880 highs from the prior day. HYW ended up really light volume. This actually may end up setting up as kind of a liquidity trap situation. Excuse me. I don't know what it is. When I make these videos, I'm burping all the time. No one wants to hear that, so I'm gonna keep going. But maybe a liquidity trap situation on HYW Brewing. And bought to the offering, so I mean, this thing's chop liver. And ALBT was another one that I had my eyes on, but did not set up like we needed it to. Really needed it above these 113 levels to try to make a move. So anyway, all that to say, the choices were pretty limited, and as long as you kind of went through the process and did your due diligence on these names, charted things out. OBLG was like a tertiary name that I was looking at, but the fact that it opened below this daily zone kind of took it out of contention for me. So just by process of elimination, for names on the long side, it was SOBR and MLGO all the way for me. So do that pre-market work, limit your names that you're looking at, find the names that are interesting to you, that look good, that have good setups, watch that volume at the open, and you'll be on the right path. So anyway, I appreciate you guys tuning in. If you want more of this, go ahead, subscribe, leave a question, leave a ticker, whatever you want to talk about in the comments. I will get back to you. Yeah, happy trading. Hope you had a good start to the week, and I'll catch you next time.